Let's take a moment to talk about embarking on a journey toward the future of the next generation of sophisticated artificial intelligence visual applications. We are going to witness the rise of advanced electronic intelligent trade imaging systems and their highly complex automated decision-making capabilities in the modern digital landscape.
Thank you for inviting me to participate. Since I'm the last one, I'll speed things up a bit so everyone can get to the prize draw segment sooner. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to share here today, especially as we move forward. In the next era, our main focus will be on AI visual applications. So let me share some of our product strategies as well as some of the market feedback and situations we've observed. First, a brief introduction to EverFocus. HUYU is traditionally a surveillance company. In recent years, as AI and AI vision have started to take off, we have also gradually begun to transform. In recent years, we have gradually brought in some partners and collaborators, expanding from image processing to areas like AV over IP. In the area of streaming capture, once you have the video input, you also need some I/O control, whether it's DIDO or analog I/O detection. Then moving on to the main processing units, such as NVIDIA or Intel. And of course, the most important part of the entire AI vision solution is still the software, whether it's the UI interface or other aspects. Some development work on flavor grading and remote management is also involved. So over the past few years, we've gradually brought in some partners and brought them into our circle. The goal is to help us upgrade from traditional surveillance IP cameras to AI vision. All of our IP cameras come with several built-in tools, from basic object detection to even supporting some VOM applications. Of course, just doing surveillance is quite tough because the competition in this area is actually pretty intense, even though the volume is large. So we've also started to diversify, moving into things like mobile DVRs. For example, a significant part of our market is in commercial vehicles or special vehicles like excavators or other types of vehicles and so on. These are relatively specialized vehicles with small quantities yet diverse. Customization is key as local regulations and information vary by country. This actually fits well with the nature of our industrial computers. To meet these application needs, we have also developed a variety of different hardware solutions for industrial PCs. So whether it's Intel-based, video-based, or ARM-based, we have a full range of products. Of course, our main focus still revolves around vision AI applications. As for our I/O, we focus on applications like PoE, GMSL, and GMSL3. We're actively working towards supporting HD cameras in this area. All right? So after doing so much work, our main development focus in recent years, I believe everyone is already aware of this. That is to say, in recent years, robotics, robotic humanity has actually become a very hot and popular topic. So we have also started to integrate our vision solutions with powerful brains like the Avid Thor, which has over 2,000 TOPS to begin developing for customers in the robotics sector. We also found that the robotics sector is quite interesting. In the past, traditional machines weren't that powerful, but now with advancements like robots, speech, speed, and so on, their capabilities have become very strong, making them well suited for a variety of different applications. For example, as mentioned about the hybrid AI platform, part of it involves integrating VON, and in fact, much of the value lies in the development of software applications. So what role do we play? We focus on the more fundamental work. We make sure the brain is well developed and we equip it with the right camera. Why? Because for many applications, you still need to see, of course, text input is possible and audio input works too, but vision still delivers the fastest results. So that's what we do. We make sure the visual integration is done well. So with our Jason Thor and on our Intel platform, we develop a software layer that allows customers to use the camera as soon as they plug it in when they purchase our hardware. This is the part we focus on for humanoid robotics. Of course, special vehicles are even more unique. In addition to needing to withstand outdoor conditions and high temperatures, such as in deserts, armored vehicles, or drones, processing requirements may be even relatively straightforward, but on the lens side, the demands are much higher, because it requires a high level of durability, and in different situations, it may also need self-cleaning capabilities and so on. Finally, when it comes to the AI main fashion part that everyone is talking about, for us, if the first two areas are well taken care of, then the fashion aspect is actually, since our brains and eyes are basically indoors with air conditioning, there aren't really any major issues. So that's pretty much our main focus. In recent years, our transformation has mainly targeted these three markets. All right, let's talk about robotics and AI. In this area, the demand for vision is actually very high. If you look at a robot, it needs vision not just in its eyes, but maybe even in its torso. Why? To prevent collisions. If something is low to the ground and the robot doesn't, without vision, it could collide. Palms need vision too. While tactile sensing matters when touching objects, visual input is vital as the robot approaches. Also need to identify what the object is. So that's possible as well. There are many cameras beyond the ones Jim mentioned. There could also be stereo cameras or the typical thermal cameras and so on. So the value we propose in this area is that we understand IPC because we come from the IPC ecosystem. We have NVIDIA's very powerful Jetson Thor and we have Qualcomm's IQ9. We help you integrate the cameras so that you can use different types of cameras for your applications. You can quickly do POCs and customize them rapidly and even bring them into the market. Of course, another aspect is that many customers, after receiving our main unit, need to do a lot of simulation, training, and other tasks. So we have also launched a series of main units, and we have collaborated with NVIDIA to integrate their Facebook AI and Metropolis into our main units. We have a dedicated software team to handle these integrations. We integrate the NVIDIA software package or the Qualcomm Advantage package in order to ensure that customers can efficiently and rapidly implement and test them. Regarding robotic solutions, for this part, from Orin, NX, AGX Orin to Thor, everyone has these units. What we are more actively integrating here is actually, since we found this is the area where customers struggle most, many camera manufacturers use unique drivers. However, integrating them into the main unit, how should the code be written or modified? Usually camera manufacturers tend to just hand it over to you and let you handle it yourself. What we offer is a butler service. Whatever integration or setup you need, we'll handle it for you. Take care of it. For example, recently we had a customer who bought a main unit and an automate camera from us and also added one of our own custom cameras. We help them integrate the drivers. So no matter which position or port you plug it into or under what circumstances, we provide a tailored solution. So we actually spend a lot of time on this. As for the value of this service, we've also found that customers are willing to pay for it. I wouldn't say that we're innovators in AI technology, but rather we're integrators of AI technology. We help reduce the effort required for customers to implement applications or even, as mentioned earlier, for special vehicles and AI vision. When they adopt these solutions, we help lower the amount of work they need to do. That's where our innovation lies. And while we're on this topic, I'd also like to mention that when it comes to hardware, another thing we're quite proud of is that we've developed our own time synchronization module. To be honest, we took a bit of inspiration from TSMC for this. Here we found that in many baseline applications, particularly safety-focused ones, it's essential to ensure that all sensor and camera data, it's time synchronized. So how is time synchronization achieved? Of course, you need to have a unified broadcasting station that sends out a standardized timestamp for this kind of application. As for the AI server part, from our perspective, we do assist clients with some AI model training. However, this area is still primarily client-driven, since clients are more interested in handling this themselves. That said, we do offer a range of products for sale, such as those used in farm equipment or larger equipment where they might require more powerful AI applications. We have our own AI servers here, and for advanced needs, we also offer super micro solutions. We also have a software team that can assist with AI training and perform related computations. But basically, when it comes to the models, the hardware itself is not our main sales focus. We still primarily concentrate on the edge AI segment. All right, so the transportation segment is also different. For example, traditionally, as shown in the upper right corner, we would install various cameras on buses to monitor for fights or disturbances inside the vehicle and keep a record. But now we've upgraded to being able to detect if a particular passenger is having an issue. Like if someone isn't moving, maybe they fainted. In such cases, the system can alert the driver or the central control center to pay attention. So in the transportation sector, things are gradually becoming increasingly smarter and AI-driven. And as for outside the vehicle, currently, of course, with ADAS, for example, if a bicycle passes by or something else goes by, you need to be alerted. Now, we're also moving to the next step. Some of our clients are using NVIDIA's Orin Nano, installing it on their trucks. After bringing in the video feed, instead of just basic ADAS, it performs a different type of analysis to see if someone might be about to suddenly run out into the road. It's a bit like predictive analysis. Basically, it tells you, hey, you should pay a bit more attention to the current environment because there might be more potential risks. So, for example, are there children around? Maybe they're playing soccer, running around, or about to dash out onto the street. It uses predictive elements, and the goal is to reduce risks and improve safety in the driving environment for the driver. Of course, this kind of feature is easy to sell, especially in places like Japan. If a truck driver gets into an accident, if it's just vehicle damage, that's not too bad. There's insurance for that. But if someone actually gets hit, especially a child, the compensation for those accidents can be significant. It's really distressing and troublesome. So they started to realize that from the perspective of insurance providers, If they can accomplish more effective prediction, especially now with things like as VOM and AI-based decision-making are now becoming increasingly efficient, these predictive features are actually exceptionally valuable. Reducing accidents is very effective for lowering overall operational costs as well. Of course, when it comes to autonomous driving, as shown in the lower left corner, there's not much more to say. For us, autonomous vehicles are more of a game for the big players like Tesla and similar companies. So we still prefer to focus on the aftermarket sector. These systems are retrofitted. The main goal is to improve the safety of existing vehicle models. In the field of transportation, we focus on specialized unmanned vehicles like unmanned excavators. That is why at the very beginning, we encountered many of these demands because sometimes the outdoor settings can be very harsh. If you have an excavator, you might need a driver there and also safety workers nearby. But if the entire area for mining or land development in the suburbs is handled by unmanned vehicles, then overall costs could be reduced as well. Consequently, this represents another significant sector where we're now seeing a rapidly increasing requirement for AI vision in transportation. In fact, we've also noticed that they're starting to care a lot about the speed of 5G because the video footage still needs to be transmitted back to the central control center in real time. Even though you have VOM and can determine on-site in order to see if there's danger or if you need to stop the machine, video transmission is still something we see as important. The combination of AI brains and 5G is an area where we're seeing increasing demand in transportation. All right, as I just mentioned, for us, our main focus right now is still on buses and trucks. Of course, as we just mentioned, we're also starting to see more and more customers wanting to integrate AI into this area. For example, we recently received a request for next year. It's a project we're discussing for next year. Normally, installing our system in the vehicle and monitoring the driver is no problem. But now they're hoping that since people are under more social pressure these days, the camera can be pointed at the driver. So if you're drowsy, that might be okay, but they're checking for driver mood swings or cold sweats. Basically, if something seems off. This is a major concern, so people are focusing here. As AI becomes more accurate, clients are integrating these applications into conventional systems. For example, instead of just using a DVR, they're now adding these AI features too. This makes the entire transportation system more user-friendly and safer. As for this part, of course, it refers to our factories. What we've observed is that video analytics is actually becoming recognized as a highly efficient tool, especially when the manufacturing facility is large. If someone moving goods falls and stays down, with my IPK handy, if I add a brain to the IPK, it can help me identify that, hey, that person hasn't moved for a long time. Maybe they're slacking off, or maybe they're injured, so we should quickly go check on them. Actually, all of this is really very effective for the overall outcome, the safety and smooth operation of the factory. Now, in the lower left corner here, let me share something cool with everyone, a case from one of our Japanese clients. They wanted to do this not just for the sake of the planet, but because they wanted to reduce the overall electricity consumption of the factory. So for their air conditioning units, they have this kind of camera. They attach an HD camera with an NVIDIA host at the back, so wherever a person walks, the air vent follows and tracks them. However, the implementation was quite interesting. When they first started the POC, everything went smoothly. They just installed it onto their existing air vents and were very happy. But after installation, they realized the device was too heavy. So one day, while using it, the whole thing collapsed. That's when they realized the issue. Sometimes I think this is an area where, since we do a lot of system engineering and tenders, when they told us about it, we also started advising them on how to secure and install it properly. This way, the AI add-ons you install won't cause any potential problems with your product, all right? So just finally, what we want to mention to you here is that when it comes to the AI roadmap, what we're seeing is that for more standard applications like with Intel, some customers may already have existing UIs or programs, which means they have to run on Intel. So in this area, pairing with different AI modules like DeepX or Kineron is a great option, or using various AI graphics modules also works. However, more often we see that as applications move toward higher-end solutions like NVIDIA or Qualcomm, the trend is becoming more apparent. For specialized applications requiring high tops, customers want a small device that doesn't need to run traditional Windows or legacy software. So we're starting to see more and more customers using dedicated products for specific applications. That's why we've also started to develop some high tops products. All right, so this is the last application I want to share. This is something we've implemented in our own group's factory. I have frequently observed that in factories there are common recurring problems, like screws being accidentally dropped by manual workers. Sometimes screws are missed and not tightened, or components that should be installed aren't properly assembled. We realize that the purpose of installing this system isn't really to catch someone on the spot for missing a screw. Actually, that's not the point. Instead, we started to see where the real value lies. It's about identifying trends. For example, if my production line is making 100,000 units, and for the first 10,000, a certain station takes 5 or 3 minutes to finish assembly, but then the next day it suddenly only takes 1 minute. At this point, the system should notify the manager. It's not because the new assembly worker is exceptionally skilled, but because, is there actually a problem? Did they miss installing something and that's why it only took 1 minute? So this kind of trend actually helps our product maintain quality throughout the entire process. For some quality issues that arise after shipping, we now have ways to track them, and we no longer rely solely on human inspection. If we have 100,000 units, it would be impossible to check every single image manually. So now we use AI to help us identify image quality issues and summarize whether there are any problems. That's what we're seeing now. In fact, the applications in this area are becoming more and more widespread. Of course, things like factory safety images are more. So we also worked with our clients to develop a new set of AMVR. We use it to monitor the environment, giving clients the opportunity to customize according to our system, whether it's detecting people, checking if any equipment has caught fire, if something has been knocked over, or if there are any particularly hazardous areas. We enable clients to deploy their own models for customized applications.